This show is part of OnePlace, a daily network of focused briefings across the stories people follow most.
Welcome to today's roundup. We are tracking a major health crisis for a political icon and the growing domestic fallout from the ongoing conflict in Iran. Let's get into the headlines.
Rudy Giuliani is currently hospitalized in critical but stable condition.
Trump's base is turning on him over rising gas prices.
Giuliani's spokesperson asks for prayers as the mayor fights.
John Fetterman warns of a socialist shift in his party.
Tucker Carlson compares being around Trump to smoking hash.
Gas prices jump 30 cents as the Iran war continues.
Trump posts a bizarre AI image of himself, swimming.
The Attorney General dodges questions on war powers and approval.
Starting with the health news. Former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani is currently in a hospital in what his spokesperson describes as stable but critical condition. This news has sent shockwaves through the political world, especially given Giuliani's long-standing role as a key ally to Donald Trump. His spokesman, Ted Goodman, took to social media to share that the 81-year-old is a fighter who has faced every challenge in his life with unwavering strength. He emphasized that Giuliani is fighting with that same level of strength right now. While the specific nature of his illness hasn't been disclosed, we do know that Giuliani was involved in a serious car accident late last year in New Hampshire. In that incident, he suffered a fractured thoracic vertebrae and multiple other injuries. This current hospitalization comes at a time when Giuliani has been under immense legal and financial pressure following his efforts to contest the 2020 election results.
Donald Trump was quick to respond to the news on Truth Social, calling Giuliani the best mayor in the history of New York City by far. Trump used the moment to praise Giuliani's efforts in contesting the 2020 election, while also repeating his own false claims about the election being stolen. It is a poignant moment for a man once celebrated as America's mayor for his leadership during the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks. Since those days, his public image has shifted significantly, moving from a national hero who received an honorary knighthood from Queen Elizabeth to a polarizing figure embroiled in defamation lawsuits. Most notably, he was ordered to pay $148 million to two Georgia election workers. Despite the controversies, his supporters are rallying, with Goodman asking for prayers for the man who led the city through its darkest hours. We are waiting for more updates on his recovery.
Now let's shift to CNN's chief data analyst Harry Enton has highlighted a truly stunning shift in polling that should have the Trump administration very concerned. According to Enton, Donald Trump's own Republican base is starting to turn on him, and the primary driver is the skyrocketing cost of gas. The data shows that 77% of Americans believe Trump owns this mess, referring to the fuel price spike tied to the ongoing war in Iran. This isn't just general public dissatisfaction, it is hitting home with his most loyal supporters. Enton pointed out that 55% of Republicans now blame Trump for the hike in fuel costs. He described this as the highest level of blame for gas prices from a president's own party that he has ever seen. It suggests that the usual infatuation the GOP base has for Trump is being tested by the very real economic pain they are feeling at the pump.
The polling also suggests that the public's patience for the conflict in Iran is wearing thin. While Trump has argued that the higher costs are a necessary sacrifice for national security, 64% of Americans say the war is simply not worth the higher gas prices. Only about a third of the population still supports the effort if it means paying more for fuel. Enton noted that these numbers have remained consistent over recent weeks, indicating a solidifying trend of disapproval. This is a significant hurdle for the administration, as gas prices are often a make-or-break issue for voters. If the Republican base continues to feel the squeeze, the political consequences could be historic. Trump has built his brand on economic strength, but this data suggests that the Iran war is undermining that core message. It remains to be seen if the administration can pivot or if the blame will continue to mount.
Next up, adding more detail to the Giuliani story, we've learned that he actually hinted at his failing health just days before being admitted. During his nightly online show, America's Mayor Live, he sounded noticeably hoarse and raspy. He told his audience that his voice was a little under the weather and that he wouldn't be able to speak as loudly as usual. Despite this, he pushed through to deliver a commentary on the Iran war. This shows just how dedicated he remained to his public platform even as his health was declining. His spokesperson, Ted Goodman, confirmed on Sunday that Giuliani remains in critical but stable condition, though he still hasn't specified the exact medical reason for the hospitalization. This lack of detail has led to much speculation, especially given Giuliani's age of 81 and his recent history of physical trauma from that car accident. The situation remains very fluid as doctors monitor his progress.
The timing of this health crisis is particularly difficult given the legal battles Giuliani is currently fighting. He was recently found in contempt of court as he struggled to pay that massive defamation judgment to the Georgia election workers. Trump's defense of him on Truth Social was characteristically aggressive, blaming the radical left and Democrats for Giuliani's current state. Trump claimed that Giuliani was right about everything regarding the 2020 election, despite numerous court rulings and audits proving otherwise. It's a reminder of how deeply intertwined Giuliani's legacy has become with Trump's political narrative. From being the hero of 9/11s to becoming the face of the election denial movement, his career has taken a dramatic path. Now, as he fights for his life, his supporters and critics alike are reflecting on his impact. Trump even mentioned that he was awarding Giuliani the Presidential Medal of Freedom last year, highlighting the high regard he still holds for his former personal attorney.
Moving on to Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania is making headlines again for his blunt criticism of his own party. During an appearance on Fox News with Jesse Waters, Fetterman lamented what he calls an orgy of socialism taking root within the Democratic Party. He was reacting to footage of May Day demonstrations that featured communist symbols like the hammer and sickle. Fetterman expressed sadness at seeing these images, suggesting that a segment of the party is moving too far to the left. He even went as far as to claim that some of these grassroots protests are being funded by billionaires, though he didn't provide much evidence for that specific claim. He pointed to the nomination of certain candidates in Maine as evidence of a communist takeover. This kind of rhetoric is unusual for a sitting Democratic senator. But Fetterman has increasingly positioned himself as a maverick who isn't afraid to break ranks with the progressive wing of his party.
Fetterman's recent voting record backs up his shift away from the party line. He has voiced strong support for the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran, and even voted against efforts to block a potential military invasion of Cuba. He has also praised the presence of ICE officers at airports, calling their work an enhancement to operations. When asked about his relationship with other Democrats, Fetterman laughed and described it as cordial, acknowledging that he isn't exactly the most popular guy in the room right now. He seems to take pride in being the guy who flipped a key Senate seat while maintaining his own independent streak. His comments on Fox News highlight a growing rift within the Democratic Party between traditional liberals and those who feel the party is drifting toward radicalism. Fetterman's willingness to go on a conservative network and criticize his colleagues suggests he is looking to appeal to a broader, more moderate base of voters.
Now let's look at Tucker Carlson has provided a very strange and vivid description of what it's like to spend time with Donald Trump. In a recent interview with the New York Times, Carlson compared the experience to smoking hash. He claimed that Trump has a spellbinding quality that makes people around him feel like they are in a dreamland. According to Carlson, this effect weakens people and makes them more compliant and confused. He even suggested there might be a supernatural component to Trump's personality, something that anyone who has been around him can supposedly feel. This is a fascinating insight from someone who was once one of Trump's most vocal supporters, but has since become a critic of the MAGA movement. Carlson's comments suggest that Trump's influence isn't just political or rhetorical, but something almost visceral that affects the mental state of those in his inner circle. It's a perspective that adds a layer of psychological complexity to the Trump phenomenon.
Carlson also touched on the current war in Iran, claiming that nobody in the Trump administration is enthusiastically pushing for it. This contradicts the public perception of a hawkish administration, but Carlson insists that the momentum is coming from somewhere else. Interestingly, Carlson recently used his own podcast to apologize for misleading people in the past, and admitted that he would be tormented for a long time for his previous support of Trump. This shift in tone from Carlson is significant, as he still holds a lot of sway with a certain segment of the American right. By describing Trump's presence as a kind of spell or drug-like experience, he is framing the former president's power in a way that suggests it is almost impossible to resist while you are in it. It's a stark warning from a man who was once at the center of the conservative media ecosystem, and now finds himself on the outside looking in.
Next, the economy. The economic reality of the Iran war is hitting Americans hard at the gas pump. Over the last week alone, gas prices have surged by more than 30 cents a gallon. As of Sunday, the national average for regular gas stands at nearly $4.45. To put that in perspective, just before the war began in late February, the average was under $3. This rapid increase is largely due to the continued closure of the Strait of Hormuz, a vital artery for global oil and natural gas trade. Experts like Kevin Book from Clearview Energy Partners warned that we could be weeks or even months away from a price peak. He explained that when inventories are low and oil can't move through the strait, prices will keep climbing until demand finally breaks. This is creating a significant strain on household budgets across the country as the cost of transportation continues to rise without a clear end in sight.
President Trump has promised that gas prices will drop like a rock once the war ends. But experts are skeptical. Even if the Strait of Hormuz reopens, it could take months to repair damaged facilities and replenish inventories. Furthermore, if prices do fall quickly, it might be for a negative reason, such as a recession that kills demand. The administration has tried to curb the spike by releasing 17.5 million barrels of crude oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, but so far the impact has been minimal. There is some hope on the horizon as 7 OPEC+ countries have agreed to increase production starting in June, but that might be too little too late for many consumers. The weakened U.S. dollar is only making the situation worse as Americans find their purchasing power eroded. For now, the message to drivers is to prepare for even higher prices as the geopolitical situation remains incredibly volatile and uncertain.
Now to this. In a move that has left many people scratching their heads, President Trump recently posted an AI-generated image on Truth Social. The image depicts a younger, thinner version of himself swimming bare-chested in the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. He isn't alone in the water. He's joined by bare-chested versions of Vice President J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, and Doug Burgum. There's even an unidentified woman in a bikini sitting on an invisible floating chair. This bizarre digital creation was part of a series of posts intended to showcase Trump's plans for the nation's 250th anniversary. He has already ordered the reflecting pool to be drained so the bottom can be painted a vibrant shade he calls American Flag Blue. This project alone is expected to cost $2 million. It's a clear example of Trump's desire to leave a very personal, and some would say eccentric, mark on the iconic monuments of Washington, D.C.
The renovations don't stop at the reflecting pool. Trump's Commission of Fine Arts has also approved preliminary designs for a massive 250-foot stone arch near the National Mall. This project has faced significant public opposition, with over 1,000 comments filed against it. There's also a legal battle brewing over a new East Wing ballroom. While a district judge initially ordered construction to stop because it lacked congressional approval, an appeals court has since allowed work to resume for now. These projects reflect a broader effort by the administration to reshape the Capitol's aesthetic, often bypassing traditional approval processes. The use of AI-generated imagery to promote these changes adds a surreal quality to the administration's public relations efforts. While some supporters see it as a bold vision for a grander America, critics view it as a self-indulgent use of public resources and a disregard for the historical integrity of the nation's most sacred spaces.
Finally, the legal debate. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche faced some tough questions on Meet the Press regarding the legal status of the conflict in Iran. Host Kristen Welker pressed him on whether the president is intentionally avoiding the word war to sidestep the need for congressional approval. This comes after Trump was caught on camera saying that you don't have legal problems if you call it a military operation instead of a war. Blanche dodged the question, insisting that the president is simply trying to keep the country safe and that Congress is being kept updated in a manner consistent with previous administrations. He argued that Trump is doing what the last 5 presidents only promised to do by taking direct action against Iran. However, the refusal to use the specific term war has significant legal implications, as it touches on the balance of power between the executive and legislative branches during times of international conflict.
Blanche was also asked if there are any legal limits on the president's power to carry out this operation. He responded by saying it was completely wrong to suggest the administration is violating the law. He maintained that they are complying with all legal requirements and that Trump is acting within his duty to the American people. Interestingly, Blanche noted that Trump isn't engaged in a popularity contest and is focused on a mission that will save the country for generations. This defensive stance comes as lawmakers like Chuck Schumer express outrage over the administration's lack of transparency. Trump even sent a letter to Congress claiming the war had ended, which only added to the confusion given the ongoing military activity. The debate over war powers is likely to intensify as the conflict continues and the economic costs mount. For now, the administration seems determined to maintain its course, regardless of the pushback from Capitol Hill or the concerns of the public.
That's our look at the top stories for today. We'll be back tomorrow with more updates on these developing situations.
Thanks for joining us. Make sure to follow the show so you never miss a briefing. Have a great day.